Hey guys, Ron here, and you may be thinking, what the hell kind of video is this? But I'll have you know that this video is a perfect way for you guys to understand all my biases when it comes to Pokemon. Now you'll get which Pokemon I regard way higher than others because of certain events that I've gone through. One of the Pokemon on this list is my best friend, and another gave me a kidney. I've killed for these Pokemon. That means that in this video, I will be talking about Pokemon that are super important to me because of some kind of circumstance that allowed me to bond with these monsters of the pocket. This isn't a list of my favorite Pokemon because I've never actually owned some of my favorite Pokemon, like Scyther, Vaporeon, Wooper, and even when I did, I may not have become personally attached to them aside from their cool design. But then again, some of the Pokemon on this list were Pokemon I didn't think were all that special, but then I started to totally appreciate them once we went through some tough moments together. Number 10. Breloom. Since I played through the Hoenn games more than any other region, I have plenty of stories related to this Pokemon, some that I'm not even gonna get to in this video. You don't even want to know how crazy these tales get. Haha, but seriously, that's for another day. But the real reason I've become particularly fond of this Pokemon is because of the Breloom I have in Alpha Sapphire, which I haven't restarted yet because I want to complete the dex in that game, especially since I think the dex nav made it super fun to catch Pokemon in Hoenn. But another tool the gods have given us to capture all the pocket monsters is Breloom. Sure, its attack stat is amazing, but Spore is where it's at. Spore is the only move that puts a Pokemon to sleep right away under normal conditions with 100% accuracy. But that meant that I had to train a specific Shroomish named Avery and not evolve it until level 40. Almost 20 levels after it's supposed to evolve. So once he got the move and evolved, I taught my boy False Swipe, and now he's a Pokemon hunting machine. You know how some Pokemon villains have Pokemon as their sidekicks who help them hunt down other Pokemon? That's how I feel whenever I use Avery. Because of that, I will always see this Pokemon as a loyal and super effective teammate. Number 9. Leavanny. They said I couldn't use an early game bug throughout my entire playthrough. Well, they were wrong. They called me crazy, saying bug-type Pokemon can't amount to anything, but I knew that Unova had an amazing assortment of bug types. I caught the first one I encountered, mostly because it was my first and final Nuzlocke, and I named this Pokemon Thick. Cause damn is Leavanny thick. An hourglass figure at its finest. You can tell that this Pokemon is a nurturing woman, and it was. Thick became a meme during my first and only playthrough on this channel. She was like the mother of the group, and those are the Pokemon you always grow to love. I really like this Pokemon now, and I'm grateful that Game Freak decided to make the early root Pokemon in Unova actually powerful, and Leavanny isn't the only one on this list. Number 8. Pangoro. Yes, it's definitely one of my favorite Pokemon, and I put it on my Kalos team for that very reason. But I have a relationship with this Pokemon unlike any other Pokemon I've ever trained. You see, when I played through Kalos, Pangoro actually wasn't part of my final team. But here's the catch. Because I liked it so much, I kept on withdrawing it in and out of my party. I'd always imagine it like Pangoro was the rogue anti-hero who always kept on leaving the team to go take care of business, but constantly comes back to help out the team when the rest of my Pokemon are in trouble. Whenever that happened, I imagined my starter saying, "So you've come back. I knew you would." And Pangoro would say, "Well, I couldn't let you guys get all the glory without me." And then they would proceed to kick butts and take names. I've never had a Pokemon that was an honorary member of the team without always being on it. So this special scenario definitely made me bond with this panda. Number 7. Lycanroc. I've told this story 2 years ago and I'll do it again. So when I first saw Rockruff, of course I liked it because it's a dog, but I didn't think it was the best Pokemon ever, and even when I saw its evolved form, I just thought it was cool, nothing more. It has beautiful eyes and it reminds me of Huskies, which are the handsomest dogs in the world. Those eyes are hypnotic. But it wasn't until I trained a Lycanroc that I actually grew to passionately love him. I genuinely feel close to my Lycanroc. You see, I always knew about his personality and in-game lore. You know, how it's supposed to be extremely loyal to any trainer who properly raised it and loved it regardless of its flaws. And it just so happened that the Rockruff that I caught had a nature that lowered its attack stat, so I was actually going to replace my Rockruff once it evolved. But then I remembered Lycanroc's description on the Pokemon website and thought that it would be pretty heartless to just abandon this loyal Pokemon. So I kept training him, and even though my starter Pokemon gained more affection towards me through Pokemon Refresh, my Lycanroc was the first Pokemon in my party to start surviving strong attacks with 1 HP out of its love for me. And by the end of the game, it became my MVP, my most valuable Pokemon, even though it was the only one with a bad nature. It was the first time in my adult life that I felt like a Pokemon other than my starter Pokemon was actually real, and that its Pokedex entry came true. And because of that, I'm really glad I kept him, because I truly love that good boy. Number 6. Zab Striker. This Pokemon is also one that I loved even before I had one on my team. But even when I had one on my party, I didn't appreciate it until literally the end of my main game. I was almost regretting getting a Zab Striker because it didn't learn any good physical electric type moves that wouldn't hurt itself. And there are a lot of good electric type options in Unova. But when I finished the Elite Four and was challenged by N and then Getsis, Zab Striker really pulled through. For some reason, my team didn't have a lot of coverage against Getsis' Pokemon. And let's not forget that my Pokemon were severely underleveled. Oops. But Zab Striker's speed came through. All my other Pokemon were getting outsped, but Zab Striker was as fast as, well, a zebra. They're pretty fast. And ultimately, Zab Striker was the last man standing. Again, it's a zebra, not a man. In fact, she was a female. But you get it. Without Striker, I would have struck out. And as I was going through Pokemon Black's wonderful postgame, this Pokemon was always multiple levels above my other Pokemon because of how often I sent out this Pokemon to quickly take care of a Pokemon my other teammates couldn't. Number 5. Malamar. You know that when you fall in love with this face, it really is true love. I just think Malamar is a fantastically executed Pokemon, such a perfect combination of vampire, squid, and cuttlefish. But again, I have to have a story in order to be personally attached to it. But this one's pretty simple. I wanted one on my team, so I did. And sometimes you put Pokemon you love in your party, but they end up disappointing you. But not Malamar. Contrary is one of the best abilities in existence and is kinda the reason I didn't constantly keep Pangoro on my Pokemon X team, cause I already had a dark and fighting type. It's not the best in battle, but it's interesting to use. This Pokemon is just so fun to watch do its thing. What other Pokemon sinisterly smiles while taking out Pokemon with sneaky and sadistic attacks, and then uses the opponent's stat-reducing moves to boost its own stats? That's evil! Its design is genius, it's fun to battle with, and its concept is fresh. Being creeped out by it is a terrible argument against it being a decently made Pokemon, because it was made to be creepy. And I love Pokemon that pull off a personality. Number 4. Gardevoir. I just find Gardevoir to be a must-have in every Hoenn team. It's worth spending an hour trying to find a Ralts, and then mercilessly leveling it up in order to finally use this fabulous freak. I mean, I don't have to speak about its origin, battle prowess, or design. It's just simply a Pokemon I'd recommend. Hey, have you ever tried using a Gardevoir? No, what's a Gardevoir? Well, it's just a pretty cool psychic type. You can Google it later to learn about it. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Don't Google it. No, don't do it. Forget what I said. Number 3. Stoutland. This one isn't very hard to get. If you don't understand why I'd get personally attached to a dog, then you're not human. I've had an Arcanine on my team that took a lot of work to train, but I'm not as attached to my Arcanine, who is my second favorite Pokemon, as much as I am to my Stoutland Sunny in my current playthrough of Pokemon Black. I guess I just expected my Arcanine to do well, on account of it being, well, an Arcanine, but Lillipup can be found on Route 1, as if Masuda was trying to bless us from the beginning. It's honestly a disgrace how some people would put Stoutland in the same league as Raticate. My boy Sunny, who is named after the sun itself, is tougher than a lion. Imagine having a lion with the heart and brain of a dog who also looks like a dog. I guess all I'm saying is imagine having a dog with a powerful attack stat and respectable defenses. My Stoutland can't be taken down easily, and every move it uses does way more than I expect. I'm somehow always surprised by this Pokemon's power every time I use it. Number 2. Mudsdale. Here's another tale I've told a year ago, so once again, let's roll the clip. At first I thought it looked like a normal horse, so I didn't find it interesting. We got another horse Pokemon, and that one's on fire! Then I found out how slow it was and ignored it during my Sun and Moon playthrough. But oh boy was I an idiot. Okay guys, so for Ultra Moon, I didn't want to have the same team, so I ended up training a Mudbray and using a Mudsdale. And oh my god, is this Pokemon amazing. Its ability Stamina raises its defense every time it's hit. So my Delilah never got knocked down, and her attack stat is huge. Just the biggest stats I've ever seen. So she stays in and hits hard. Who cares about speed anymore? After using a Mudsdale and also appreciating its design, I went from being indifferent to absolutely loving this Pokemon. The Pokemon that are higher on this list tend to be Pokemon that I didn't love at first until having these breathtaking experiences. And let me quickly mention a Pokemon I want to honor. An honorable mention, if you will. Zangoose is a Pokemon I picked up in the Battle Factory and ended up being the sole reason I finally beat Norman and got a medal. He had all the coverage and everything. Soon after, it became my favorite normal type and even got on my Black 2 Nuzlocke on this channel. But that was towards the end and I never really got to bond with that Zangoose. So since I ended up only using Pokemon I actually bonded with, I didn't put this Pokemon on the list. And I didn't want to say it in the intro because it would be a complete waste of time, but I decided to disqualify starter Pokemon. If I didn't, then half of the list would be Pokemon like Samurott, Infernape, and the number 1 entry would have been a predictable Sceptile. But I'm personally attached to my starters for the same reason, so it would be pretty boring to include them in separate entries. That means number 1 is actually Crobat. A Pokemon I always secretly thought was cool throughout my childhood, but never managed to use one because I didn't want to train a Zubat and Golbat. But I decided to conquer my fear and give some sweet bat love to my Golbat in Diamond, around 5 years ago, and ever since I've acquired one in 2 other playthroughs. It always becomes the big brother or sister of the team. Whenever I need a super fast ninja to eliminate an enemy in breakneck speed, I send in Bruce or Batya to save the day. It's crazy actually. Everybody else sees an intimidating bat, but I see a Pokemon that takes care of its team and is super loyal, like Batman, but a better team player. And it's always sent out during a double battle alongside whatever ground type I have, so Crobat can hastily use a move and allow my ground type to finish him off with Earthquake, without doing any harm to my precious Crobat. It's the #1 Pokemon I'd recommend people use, from personal experience, and I hope you were personally attached to this video too, enough to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to check out the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can help out and get cool rewards like seeing my videos days before they're released on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter as soon as you can, and I'll see you guys very soon.